got a whole lot of time here. What time is it now?
Okay, we're here with Mojo Nixon and Skid Roper.
Official what?
Baseball game. Okay, first question I have is, where exactly are you from? I've heard like read three different things.
Well, everything you read is true. Didn't you know that? Everything.
Canadian.
This is the 80s, you know.
I heard Canada, Los Angeles,
Canada,
Carolinas.
we haven't heard that yet.
Someone said Canuck.
Canuck?
Might have been the Village Boys.
Hoser? You think it's some kind of hosers or something?
That's what I read.
We were up in Canada with the Pogues, man, and we got paid a bunch of them, what do they call them, hoser bucks, man. You know, we couldn't get those sayings, man. We couldn't get them changed back to fucking real George Washington dollars, man. Well, nobody want them things, you know. Got pictures of the Queen on there, man.
So no good for that. So
we live in San Diego now. We're based out of San Diego.
Uh-huh.
Skid grew up down that way. I grew up down North Carolina, Virginia, down that way.
Uh-huh. So it's...
And any other stories you hear probably have some element of truth in them. But, you know, there's various... There's 4 or 5.
Yeah, I almost died when I read Canada. So is the Mojo legend on Back of the Frenzy album more or less true?
Most of that is true. I mean, there's a few things that are out and out, full tilt lies, but I won't tell you what they are.
Uh-huh.
But more than you would believe of that is actually true.
Yeah? Even you met Skid at a women's detention home?
That has elements of truth
in it.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to say, you know, country dick. He called me a raging sick pig. What is he? What is he? He's a demented oxpecker from hell. Put that. Headline, country dick of the Beat Pirates, demented oxpecker from hell.
What's an oxpecker?
Oxpecker is this bird that sits on ox's backs. One of the birds, you know, it's like a parasite off an ox. He's a demented oxpecker from hell.
Jim, go ahead.
How long have you guys been performing as a duo?
Going on 3 years now, I think. Something like that.
3 years?
This is Scott. He's our road manager.
Yeah.
Sleeping agent. Actually, for the last week, he's been doing nothing but sleeping. He's got Siberian sleeping sickness and stuff. Yeah, we
What are the names I put out
here, I got it right here.
Oh, exciting.
I played a few shows by myself, but not very many. And then me and Skid started playing together, and I left town in San Diego. I was gone for about 6 months. Had women troubles.
Playing himself.
Women were trying to kill me. And then I came back, and well, the first album came out about 1.5 years ago. We've been running around like chickens with their heads cut off since then.
Mm-hmm. That's why I wanted to ask you about working, since you, with the song Ain't Got No Boss, you're really anti-working.
Well, anti-evil bosses, yeah.
So pretty much you work your hard-working band every day, or mostly every day?
Yeah.
Seems like you're on the road all the time.
We've been on the road it seems like, since last November.
How many gigs a year do you think?
I'd say we did close to 200 gigs in the last year. Yeah. We did 8 weeks this summer with, and 3 weeks with the
Beat Farmers?
the Pogues.
Pogues.
And 5 weeks on our own. We're just ending up 3 weeks here. We did like 2 weeks of the Beat Farmers. We did a month, 4 weeks in Holland with
Holland, really?
right
All the way over
with
there?
who were them guys? Texan the Horseheads.
Texan.
And then we did last fall we did like 7 weeks, 4 weeks of the Beat Farmers and 3 weeks on our own. So plus other shit.
Yeah. How when you open up for the hardcore bands, how do the hardcore kids respond?
Generally
Like
good.
bands?
We haven't played that many hardcore shows. You know? So there'll be more like these guys will have more of a hardcore audience. We played with the Dickies last week.
Yeah.
And Ed Gein's car or something.
Yeah.
And that was like a real young audience, like 14 to 15. A lot of them never heard of us. You know, they weren't like part of the, you know, college radio kind of crowd.
Yeah.
They were more part of the kind of crowd. But you know, a lot of I'm sure we sold records and made a bunch of new fans. You know.
Sure.
Because they were, you know, new to our thing. We played with this band last night, this band, the Bodines, and they had like a much more mainstream crowd.
Yeah.
Oh man, those people were looking at us like we were from outer space. You know?
Really?
Yeah.
In your shows, a big part of your show is the audience response. Do you ever have shows where the response just wasn't there?
Well, the show last night, for the number of people there, and it being a Saturday night and everything, I mean, people were responding, but nothing like, you know, had half the crowd say already heard of us and kind of was there to see us.
Yeah.
You know. Oh yeah, we played shows, you know, where, you know, all right, everybody sing along, and you know, two guys, you know, I hate banks. You know, you know, it's kind of weird. I mean, we'll play some shows where like everybody's just hollering, everyone's there just to see us. They've all heard the records, you know, they're out of control. You know, it's like I don't even have to say anything. They're all saying it for me, you know. And then 2 nights later, we'll do a show where I just got to work, you know, to make it happen. You know? Part of that, I'm sure, has to do with the independent distribution of our record.
I was going to ask you about that. It seems at least in this neck of the woods.
1 hour from now.
1 hour warning.
Okay.
That I haven't seen either record in a lot of stores. I was wondering if you heard that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was
constantly hear that all the
second
time.
record was hard to find, for a while around here. Tower didn't have it.
It sold out a bunch of times. Enigma underestimated our wild selling power. You know, three separate times. You know, they print up 1,000, we'd sell them all, you know, in a couple weeks. And then they, you know, had to wait another week to print up another 1,000 or something. But yeah, that's the biggest problem with being independent. You know, is it? I mean, we hear this everywhere. You know, Mojo, we want to buy your albums, we can.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just like, I mean, people that are like, you know, really part of the scene, you know, all like say they're nearly in a band or they have a fanzine or something, you know, they'll know where to go, they'll know how to kind of track it down. But just your average fan who just comes,
it's gonna look at
you
it
know,
all.
and then they'll go twice maybe to the store, and if they don't get it the third time, they'll say, fuck it. I mean, hopefully they won't buy Journey or Styx or the Evil Lover Boy or something. But I mean, they'll buy something else. I mean, I do the same thing. I go to the store, and they don't have the Professor Longhair record I'm looking for. I end up buying, you know, Blind Forehead, you know, Godzilla or something, you know.
What are the circumstances which led to your relationship with Enigma? Because your record hasn't been together that long, and so you've been, what, with Enigma for 2 years?
Right. It's actually, I guess, was it 2 or 3? It's 2 years ago right now. We played a show in San Diego with Texas and Horseheads and TSOL. And one of their managers, who had something to do with this thing called Bimaspring, which was like an offshoot of Enigma, like 2 years ago, he saw us, and this guy Mike in Texas and Horseheads is a big Mojo nut. He loved us. And they were just like, so I got the guy's phone number. He says, yeah, I'd be interested in putting an album out. We had an album finished at the time, the first album. And he calls me up like 2 days later and goes, well, yeah, let's put this out. I'm like, ah! You know? So it took almost 8 months after that before the first record came out. But, you know, it did.
I understand you have 2 new projects forthcoming, an EP and also a flexi disc. The EP is going to contain, what, a couple of
live
new
cuts.
versions?
Contain 5 completely new songs, plus a re-recorded version of Jesus at McDonald's and some kind of remix of Stuffin' Martha's Muffin.
It's a bit dance mix?
Yeah, it's going, yeah. You're going to play it at Limelight or one of those things. I don't know. The only thing I can tell by listening to it is the part where I'm talking to Martha on the phone, it sounds like I'm on the phone now. You know, they made it sound like it's, you know, real tinny on the phone.
Yeah.
They did some other stuff, but hell, I don't know what it is.
You also have a couple of seasonal things on there, and Christmas things.
Right, there's Son of Santa, and there's also Transylvanian Christmas. That should be out by the...
It's called Transylvanian Christmas?
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of that Stuffin' Martha's Muffin, have you ever heard any response from through the airwaves or?
Nah, nothing. She's
Nothing
a
at
big
all?
chicken. She's a big chicken.
I mean,
She won't call me up. She won't go out on a date with me. Somebody
Steve Baders is ugly.
Somebody called up. I guess this 120-minute show called up Enigma, and they said, "Yeah, we want to get Mojo. You know, he's hot. He's underground. Blah blah blah." Well, so, but they wanted like a finished video. We didn't have one. But we're going to be in New York like this coming week, you know, because this European tour got canceled. And they, so I said, well, yeah, why don't you call up these 120 minutes guys and tell them, you know, we'll film something while we're here. Well, they call up and go, well, you know, this song, Stuffin' Martha's Muffin. Now, I could see if it was an attack on MTV, but it's a personal attack on Martha. Yeah, but I wasn't there to defend myself. It's really not a personal attack on Martha. It's a personal lust after Martha. Actually, I don't say Martha's a dickhead. I mean, I could have had a song, Martha's a dickhead. Nah, man, I just said I wanted to be having some conjugal relations with Martha. That's all.
It's a compliment, yeah.
It's a compliment.
Yeah.
You know, she's a sex goddess. But so I don't think we're gonna be on that.
A question following that, with that song and maybe some of your shows and all this Reaganomics and censorship, have any of your shows ever been stopped or any managers ever come up?
They try to, will fucking rip their heads off and shit down their necks. You know what I mean? All this censorship bullshit, all this war on drugs, all this pissing in jars, all this goddamn crazed Christian things. They're gonna be crawling on their bellies like reptiles soon enough. Freedom, liberty, equality, and freedom of choice is what's going to be going on around here. Not all those fascist pigs. I mean, this comes and goes in America all the time. A bunch of people decide that they want to, you know, just because everything's not like it was when they were babies, you know. Oh, I'm so scared. I'm so scared. I'm scared of freedom. You know, they're all scared of freedom, so they want to turn everything into some kind of Gestapo camp, you know, middle class Gestapo thing.
What is your opinion of candidate Pat Robertson?
He's an evil geek, and he ought to be castrated and have his balls taped to his forehead. I mean, you know, these people, I mean, they're obviously sincere in their twisted beliefs. But America, you know, was founded on the idea of religious freedom. America was founded by religious nuts kicked out of Europe. Literally, the Pilgrims. Check out them outfits they were wearing. No wonder they were kicked out. No wonder they didn't get no pussy, man. No one got laid around there. Why do you think Rhode Island was founded? Because the Baptists were kicked out of Massachusetts. You know, they were wild. They were crazy. You know. But I mean, America has this whole big tradition of religious nuts. It's interesting to see. I mean, other countries, England, for example, like majority of people there, the religious question, the "Are you born again?" question, kind of thing, never enters anyone's mind at all. It's just, there's like some weird American phenomenon, you know. I mean, they have their own troubles with the king and English heritage and the decline of the empire and whatnot. But I mean, you know, it's peculiar to America, this whole nutty thing.
How did you happen to select the particular Chuck Berry selection you're going to be doing for the Bob?
Well, I liked it, you know, and hell, there ain't too many of them that ain't already been done, you know. I figured it's sneak attack, you know. You know, you got to kind of look high and low to find one that, you know, hadn't already been done and done well, you know. Yeah. But I mean, most of the ones that've been done by somebody somewhere, I like them, you know. You know, I like them, you know, I like the Stones doing it, I like, you know, the Yardbirds doing it, you know, whoever, the Animals, you know, George Thorogood, whoever. I mean, you know. I like that Chuck Berry sound. I like the way Chuck does them, you know.
I like the way he uses the lyrics, and I think there's actually, in a way, there's a similarity between him and you in that he's very direct in how he describes things, the adjectives he picks out. It's never just a car.
Right. Well, that's something, you know. Something when I was originally writing songs, right, it was originally just like a car, you know, and like I think like Springsteen's third album, he also started, you know, he started getting like, you know, he would say less with more words, but he would say the 7-Eleven, not the convenience store. He would, you know, make things specific. You know, I think that's very good. I think Stephen King does that very well. He's made a ton of money, and he touches on people by describing situations that actually exist. You know, it's not like they're walking down the street. They're walking down 42nd Street. And he describes that dude who is there now, you know, talking into the thing, you know. You know, and by using brand names and that kind of thing, you know, makes it more human.
Do you consider yourself an admirer of Springsteen?
Oh, yeah. You know, this,
He'd suck his dick. He'd suck his dick.
I'm bigger than him, man. I had Bruce Mania there for a while, you know, around the time of Darkness on the Edge of Town. Bruce Mania swept the Mojo Empire. And, you know, this last record, you know, it's a little too commercial for me. It's stadium tour and whatnot. I mean, I don't really have any answers when you should play 20 nights in each arena around the country. Play for all year or something, I don't know.
Speaking of Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, but
I was gonna say
think the great thing that Springsteen did, you know, for me and for other people, is that he lets you know it's okay just to be a regular American dude from a small town. You don't have to be Boy George. I mean, it's okay, you know, it's interesting how you don't have to be Mick Jagger, you don't have to be bisexual, you don't have to be, you know, you can just wear what you normally wear, and you can just kind of, you know, and there's a cult of that now, too,
Yeah.
you know. Everybody tries to be more American and more small town and more farmer-oriented and whatnot. But I mean, Bruce just kind of, he's just a dude, and he's like, there was a really good quote somewhere. Somebody said he was something that's very rare. He's a, what was that? I can't remember. He's a self-conscious primitive, you know, and he knows that he's like kind of tapping into this vaguely poetic self-conscious thing, but he knows it, you know. So it's not like he's just like doing it and he's like off in the complete stratosphere, you know. So he's self-conscious about it, you know. But I mean, I think that's the great thing Springsteen did. He loosened up all that. You know, you don't have to dress up like a rat and Motley Crue. You know, rock and roll doesn't have to be glitter rock or, you know, all that kind of thing. Go ahead.
Speaking of your influences, your music hides it and then again doesn't hide it. Your influences. Just listen to
It's a trick.
some of your albums. I kind of listed a few that I could catch. Richard Pryor, Jonathan Richman, The Stooges, Iggy Pop.
Right now, that's one no one catches. No one. I mean, yeah.
I'm a big Iggy fan.
I keep thinking everyone's gonna get that. It's such a complete rep. I mean, it's such a total. I keep thinking, oh, they're gonna call me on this right away. But no one ever. I mean, this is literally the second time someone's ever mentioned it. You know, for whatever reason.
Let's see who else. James Brown, ZZ Top, Alice Cooper, the obvious song. John Lee Hooker, every rhythm and blues man. Frank Zappa, Lou Reed, Dylan. Who else? And you got anybody?
Right, and a lot of the things that I'm copying from these cats, they cop from somebody else.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Right, you know, I mean, it's like a collective subconscious of gonzo imagery going on out there.
But just like the way Jesus and McDonald's done, it goes from Sister Ray to Jonathan.
That was the idea. That was the whole idea.
Yeah, it was just great. What other influences do you have that doesn't? Like, what other bands do you like out there now?
Bands that are out now. I mean, I really like to see Jason and the Scorchers live.
They're good.
I like
They're
bands
hot.
that just fucking burn. Bands that get 3 really happening chords and just start, you know, rocking out on them. You know, getting the snares popping and the guitars screaming, and you know, Warner's got that real kind of Chuck Berry meets Johnny Thunders. You know, whatever that cat's name is in the Sex Pistols. He's got that big chunka sound.
Steve Jones. Yeah.
Right. You know, I like things like that. Our friends from San Diego, the Beat Farmers, they touch in on some of that. I like some wild, over-the-top things, you know. And something that really hadn't shown up, I really like gospel music.
That has to. I was going to ask you if you had a chance to listen to a lot of gospel growing up.
Yeah, lots of it. I have lots of records. Particularly the kind of male vocal groups developed after World War II. I got tons of that. I also got tons of records of blues guys doing gospel. Kind of people go back and forth, you know. I'm a sinner, I'm saved, you know, they're all confused. I got a lot of those records. I got a lot of those kind of records. One of my favorites, this is literally her name, Blind Mamie Forehead. What a name! What a name! She's pretty cool.
What do you think of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Well, I guess it's okay, but I don't like seeing them motherfuckers in tuxedos. All that bullshit. All that highfalutin stuff. I mean, you can't blow your nose in a tuxedo. You know, you gotta order the right wine, all that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm sure it goes with getting older, you want finer things, but people always, you know, the whole establishment thing has this way where they buy off talented people. You know, people who are like raising a ruckus when they're 20 or something. They're raising a ruckus, they're wild, they're free thinkers, you know, they're thinking about all kind of stuff. They're seeing a very clear vision. They're seeing through a lot of the social, political, economic bullshit that goes on in America. But those people get bought off. I mean, the establishment buys them in. It's just like, you know, if you got too much competition, you know, you go buy them into your company. You know, they buy them into the company, and they give them the material success. They say, look, we're going to give you the house, we're going to give you the money, we're going to give you the car, we're going to give you all this. And then the person, while they still speak kind of a liberal, mealy-mouthed kind of revolutionary rhetoric,
Calm down.
they calm down. You know, they lose the edge. You know, they lose that real clear vision they had before. You know, I mean that happens in all fields. That doesn't just happen in music. That happens in politics and in art and in society and in general. You know.
So that's pretty likely to happen to every person as you get older.
I don't think it has to happen. You know, but it's just the whole. You know, everything's so geared towards maintaining the status quo. You know, the power, the people that got the money, that own the means of production, you know, the people that own land and property in America. I mean, they're the ones that got the juice, you know. And they end up absorbing these wild-eyed people, you know. And those people, you know, I mean, they become, you know, just like, you know, the radicals of the 60s or the accountants of today. You know?
Yeah.
Prior to developing this act, were you involved in any traditional band setups?
Oh, yeah. You know, various things. Last kind of band I was in for quite a while was this kind of just like 60s kind of thing, kind of, what's that guy's name? Mitch Ryder, kind of sounded like that. And just in Stonesy kind of bands, and I was in like a punk band in Denver. And, you know, it was kind of like a Clash, Pistols, MC5, Little Richard, you know, kind of thing. I mean, it was punk for Denver.
So you figure with this, you pretty much found your niche and see what you want to stick with.
Yeah, but we're not gonna definitely do this forever. I mean, there's definitely a limit to this. You know, I mean, there's a limited amount of, you know, ruckus you can make with two people. And we're making most of it, I think, you know. But, yeah, I mean, maybe we'll do something with a band or with more people or different people or, you know, there's, you know, we're not definitely gonna say, this is it, you know, who knows what.
How has the support been from the label?
Pretty good. I mean, you know, now that we're actually selling records and we did real well on the college charts and everything, you know, now they call us instead of vice versa, you know.
Nobody's done any crying about a lot of the hands-off lyrics. I mean, that pretty much limits where you can go. I mean, there are certain radio stations where will never play you now, right?
I don't know. I don't care. No, I don't think that's true. But I don't know. I don't worry about those things. I'll let them. That's their job. You know, I think I can give them enough songs. You know, I can give them a song that is still going to be wild, and though, you know, they're going to play it. But I mean, the radio, the whole thing, it's nutty. It's crazy. I mean, it's you know, it's lowest. It's lowest common denominator. It's, you know, let's get something that sounds like something else. You know.
Yeah.
And you know, commercial radio is in the business not in the business of having great bands on the radio, but and selling soap, selling whatever, selling zit cream.
Do you think an MTV is an important outlet?
No, I think it's just like commercial radio now. It's just like AOR, you know, FM, rock radio. You know, as soon MTV started out, you know, it's kind of a new thing because a lot of new bands were the only people that had videos. But then as soon as REO Speedwagon and, you know, Journey and Van Halen figured out they could make videos, well, that's all you saw on MTV, or Lionel Richie, or just, you know, mainstream acts, you know.
Some bands even went back on their old hits and made videos for old hits.
Yeah.
You got a new Boston record?
Nah.
It's out.
But yeah, the whole deal's just kind of crazy. I don't worry about that at all. You know, I think my job is to write best songs I can, to play as good as I can, to do everything I can to inspire people to have a good time, to blow a fuse, to go over the top rope. And then, you know, if we can figure out a way to sell it and make money at it, fine. You know, that's, you know. But my job is not to worry about all them things.
At this point, in your opinion, what do you think is the most brilliant thing you've ever written?
Brilliant thing.
Or the best thing you've ever written?
God. I don't think I've ever had that question asked. I don't know. I don't think I've done that yet. You know, there's some things I really like. There's certain things about, you know, a bunch of songs. I really like I Hate Banks. And I'm really actually proud of Ballad of Wendell Scott, just because it's about where I'm from.
Could you give me some background on that? Because I'm really not that familiar.
Well, in the town where I grew up, Danville, Virginia, this black stock car driver, Wendell Scott, was the only one. And Rich Pryor made his movie about him called Breeze Lightning. And he's like, you know, local hero, you know. So it just mentions a lot of things in the town, and, you know, my father was a big fan of his, and my father ran his black radio station, and they, you know, helped sponsor Wendell and whatnot, you know. My father died about 10 years ago. I keep thinking he's going to hear it, you know. He's going to show up and hear it, you know. I'm still trying to please my father, you know. But I really like that one song, you know. But I mean, I figure the way I see, I get these like little glimpses. I get like little glimpses of really happening things. I'm waiting to write like whole songs like that, you know.
What was the main inspiration behind I Hate Banks?
Just series of just never-ending series of hassles with banks.
Your personal hassles?
Oh yeah. And actually, what cued it off one night, I was in this motel, and my girlfriend had passed out on me, and I was watching some movie, and the banks repossessing the land. And I just had a bunch of hassles with banks that wouldn't cash my checks. Maybe you ever tried to cash checks and pay to order a Mojo Nixon Skid, you know. So I was just having never-ending hassles with banks, and so I wrote the whole song like on the back of a paper bag. I wrote the main hunk of it, you know, then kind of streamlined it there later on. You know.
How about Feeling Existential?
That just, I'm sure we're gonna play that here tonight.
Yeah. This
So I
is,
better write that down here.
this is the Lower East Side, except it's in New Jersey.
Right.
So before you were talking about, you mentioned your girlfriend and stuff, and Jim had the question. I'm going to steal it from him. Did you ever, at the Cat Club, you noticed the other night, a lot of women at your shows.
Well,
They like.
that's rare though. I mean, sometimes.
Was it? Yeah.
Well, I mean, we played
They
shows.
like the humor.
Or actually, there's usually quite a few women, but right down front, right in front of the stage, will be mostly guys. You know, big beefy football playing motherfuckers. Ah, Mojo, you know. But more and more women. You know, I mean, and I get accused of being sexist and, you know, degrading women and whatnot. And hell, I'm sure I do some of that, but I think, you know, women, you know, who just recently liberated themselves, you know, for, you know, whatever time, you know, in a never-ending quest to, you know, to assert some kind of equality. You know, I mean, obviously people liberate themselves, they overreact, you know, they turn every situation into a confrontation and whatnot. And so, you know, the problem with women is you couldn't make any jokes about them. You know, in the early 70s, everything was like, you know, you had to be on your toes all the time, you know. Same thing with black people, you know. You couldn't make any jokes about it, you know.
Yeah.
You couldn't just say something, and people couldn't just take it as a joke or innocent. Everything, you know, oh, you're being racist, you're being sexist, you know. You know, I'm not very good at getting along with women, you know, sexually, relationship-wise, whatever. I just don't understand them, you know. I mean, I'm sure there's some I understand, you know, but actually, you know, what happens, I think, you know, you start fucking women, you start having sex, and everything changes, you know. It's like, oh, we're best friends, we're buddies, blah, blah, you know. You have sex, and all of a sudden it's like, so, you know, all of a sudden their moms start talking to them in their sleep or something, you know. Okay, start fucking with him now. Yeah, come on. Yeah, start fucking with him now. You know. You know, this guy, Sam Kinison, you know who he is? He's this comedian. He's the one that does all the screaming.
Oh,
the
yeah,
short,
the guy.
fat guy, long hair.
Yeah.
He talks about women all the time, man.
Yep.
He nails them right on the head, you know. But I just ain't too good at getting along with them, you know. I mean, I like women and everything. You know, I'm not going after men, you know, but I get, you know, it just gets confusing.
If you get a chance to read the things written about you,
Oh yeah.
how do you respond to it?
Well, I just read something. Christal, is that his name?
Robert Christal. With
Yeah,
those boys.
Christal.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, he said something about a rape joke. Now, see, that's typical.
Yeah.
We've been getting a lot of reviews where the people reviewing us really like us, but they spend most of the writing time though warning everybody else that we may be too much for them. So it's like we're getting a positive review. It's like, man, I really like this. This is great. This is funny. And he lampoons this. He does that. You know, they rock. They cool. Blah blah blah. And then he go, but then he spends like another paragraph going, well, you know, you might not like it. You know, if you know, if you're a mamby-pamby, evil yuppie geek from hell, you might not like it. You know. And this Robert Christal guy, you know, said something, man. I'm gonna have to get him. Said I pissed on Howlin' Wolf's grave, man. I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna piss on him, man.
He was one of the same people who came out and criticized those senators' wives for trying to put the labels on records. He's pretty much doing the same thing to you.
Well, yeah, he said it was a rape joke. Now, I guess he's talking about going to eat them words, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, the point is, he gave us a B+.
Yeah, it was
Which-
last week. Yeah, this
Right,
week.
which is a good. I mean, there was only two people with A minuses. So there was like 3 people with B pluses or something like that. So he gives it a B plus. But
yeah.
if you read the review, you don't get no B plus idea from that. It's just confusing. We get a lot of reviews like that.
Lou Reed spent about 5 or 10 minutes on a live album making fun of him, and he was sitting right in the audience.
Right, I
And
mean,
take no
here's there was
survivors.
a review, I think it was right in here somewhere. It says, duo, tries to irritate you or something. Duo set for irritation or some goddamn thing. But we get a lot of press,
I was under the impression you were just trying to give us a good time.
Oh, here we go. Rock and roll's wild roots explored by oddball pair. That's typical. It's like they don't want to say that they really like us. They gotta kind of say, okay, these guys are nuts. What else can I tell you?
I have a question.
Are you even taking this act to Europe or any place like that?
Well,
Yeah,
went
we were supposed to go to Europe next month. I mean, like next week, like tomorrow.
So
but
that's been put off.
that's been put off, but I'm sure we'll go back yet. Because the record's out on Enigma Europe,
You
and
haven't been there yet, though?
we were in Holland,
Yeah.
but just Holland. Oh, we haven't been to England yet.
I had a question for Skid, but he's not here. You gave him the title King of the Washboard. Did he ever have a washout with Jim Dandy Mangrum?
No, who's that?
Black Oak, Arkansas?
Oh, that's his name.
That's the 70s, but
Yeah, dude.
Jim Dandy?
How long has he been playing that? Washboard?
Oh, longer than we've been playing. He used to play in this thing before Beat Farmers called Country Dick and the Snuggle Bunnies.
He was from Country Dick.
He was in that band, right? And that was before. That was kind of like a side project, as part of the whole San Diego. This guy Joey Harris, who's now in the Beat Farmers, he produced our first album, and we recorded it in a 4-track at his house. But the San Diego music scene is pretty small. It's like 20, 30 people, and everybody was in the band, cross-breeding kind of thing.
So you got Twilight's last Gleaming from Joey Harris.
From Joey, yeah, and I pretty much changed it completely. In fact, it may be on the next Beat Farmers album. As he originally did it, it's like it's kind of like it's a rocking song. It's not a ballad. It's faster, and it's just kind of like about the plight of farmers or something, I don't like the take of it on the record. I don't like it at all. For some reason, I just never got a take I liked. It's okay.
In general,
But I cringe at it. That's the only thing that we've recorded that I just cringe every time I hear. And all the other stuff, I can live with. But that,
in general, would you say you're more satisfied with the second record?
well, yeah, but it's just because a lot more, technology went into it to make it sound more like we do live. We still recorded live, but we were able to overdub things. And just everything sounds louder and fuller and everything, without sounding fake. The first record, in no time did we think we were making a record. We were just over at Joey's house. We're over there. I go, Joey, me and Skid want to come over. You got that 4-track. You got 4 mics. We just want to record demos, in case we ever make an album. Well, that became the first album. It took 4 hours. We just recorded those songs. So it's really loose. There's a lot of fuck-ups on it. There's a lot of, I'm just kind of talking and, and everything. But that's, that's cool.
yeah.
How was your life change now that you're traveling from coast to coast with your records in some of the stores?
Not really that much. I don't have to work at the bicycle shop anymore. That's what the song Ain't Got No Bikes, I Ain't Got No Balls is about.
Is that where you were?
The bicycle shop, and I don't have to worry about money quite as much. We got a few dollars floating around now, and I think I'm generally happier than I was before. So I was really frustrated, having to work. It's really hard to have a girlfriend and to work a day job and play every night. And hell, you just go crazy, Teeth start falling out, and your hair turns gray, and your dick shrivels up. And, hell, you don't know what's going on. But there's kind of pressure now. Now that we got a lot of press and a lot of people like us, we play shows like 200 people who come and pay, whatever, $5 to see us. That's pretty impressive to me. Now there's pressure, the next album's gonna be better. I gotta write 20 new songs, I gotta say some new things. I gotta say it better. I gotta rhyme, get some new rhymes, So, and there's kind of a war always going on between just being completely spontaneous, crazy, and nutty, and trying to be really good, So I don't think I can do too much of either. I can't just sit down. I can just sit down, I can do a whole album just making it up off the top of my head in a period of 2 days or something. Or I can sit down and spend 6 months, getting all the words just right, and thinking of their changes and things we haven't done. So somehow combine both of those elements,
What was the thinking behind coming out with an EP? as opposed to waiting for another album?
I don't know. Enigma, I think Enigma had this idea that they're going to try to get something on commercial radio, like a morning drive time, kind of as a comedy thing or something.
Is that the idea behind the re-recordings?
Yeah, and also there's a song on there. There's a song on there called "Get Out of My Way." It's about being stuck in traffic. It's kind of similar to Ain't Got No. It's similar to I Hate Banks and Where the Hell's My Money, but they use some Robert Johnson and Elmore James licks instead of John Lee Hooker licks. And but and plus we just had some other stuff in the can. The next record will take to be longer, and it'll be a while before it comes out.
Where do your other interests lie aside from music?
Movies. I want to go see David Lynch's new film tomorrow.
Someone told me it was great.
Blue Velvet. Movies, go-karts, psychedelic drugs, spiritual enlightenment, comedy, Sam Kinison and Richard Pryor, just things that drive out to the edge and then jump right off,
You sound like you have also an extensive record collection.
Oh yeah, all kind of. I buy a lot of records. Skid has a lot more records than I do, and buy a lot of records, a lot of older stuff. I'm interested in where things came from, where they're going to go. And, man, surprisingly, how much things are pretty much the same. I mean, there's lyrics I sing that people were singing in the 20s, and it's gone through 50 different, changes.
It's a great time looking for the old stuff. There's so much on reissue right now.
Yeah, right,
It's amazing, isn't it?
Half an hour, boss.
Need to get some beers, boy!
You gotta get them from the bar.
What do you think?
You can get drinks or beers or whatever you want. Just ask for it at the bar.
Okay. Anything
All
else
done?
I need to tell
I wanted to
y'all?
ask about what the record company had sent me, what I read about. The one name I really wasn't familiar with was Hunter Thompson.
Oh, you don't know about
I
Hunter?
really don't.
Oh, he's this writer who was
Gonzo journalist.
yeah, he catapulted into fame, I guess if you could call it that, with his book Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. He wrote for Rolling Stone. He also wrote for other things in the late '60s.
The name is familiar, I just don't.
Right.
That movie Where
Anyway,
the Buffalo Roam with Bill Murray.
Bill Murray did this movie about him. Anyway, he's this completely over-the-edge character. There's really no way to describe him, but I mean, I steal some stuff from him. Bill Murray stole a lot of stuff from him. He's just wild. He's just a nut. The crazier it gets, the more he likes it. He's this big, imposing character. And he's constantly ingesting high amounts of all kind of drugs. And just going off on a total twisted bender. He's written about 5 or 6 books. I'd recommend first reading Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, which is like a 2-hour, 4-hour read. It's just wild. And he's got like 5 or 6 other books. He writes political stuff, and he's writing for the San Francisco Chronicle now as a media thing. But I mean, he'll start off writing about something, and then he'll just completely go off on a tangent about how Nixon's balls should be crushed up and put on display, and so he can not reproduce anymore. He's great. He's free. I mean, and the freer he gets, the wilder he gets. Yeah, you should any bookstore would have it.
So when is the record going to be out?
I think at the end of October, but who knows? October 20th, somebody told me.
So you're going to be on the road for how much longer?
We're going to be we're going to go down to North Carolina and work on this film with this band, the Flat Duo Jets, next weekend. I don't know when that'll be coming out or what the hell it's called or anything. And then we're going to go back to San Francisco. We're going to play 2 shows in San Francisco to kind of take place some of these European dates we're missing. Then we'll probably tour most of November on the west. Go up to Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Utah, Arizona, joints like that, California. And then we'll probably take December off. We haven't really had a whole 3 or 4 weeks in a row off at all. And then come January, start do some pre-production, do some demos for this 3rd album, and then record it probably end of January, 1st of February.
Do you have a pretty healthy backlog of songs at this point?
I got a pretty healthy backlog of ideas. I'm not much on finishing songs. In fact, a lot of those songs on the 2nd record I finished in the motel the night before. I just, I don't sit down and finish them. I get like, 3 lines I think are really happening in a good riff, and I go, okay, that's it. I'll forget about it for 6 months. I'll write it down, I tape it, and then
We were driving up to do the EP, and Skid's going, well, I'd like to hear this, so Mojo's kind of playing it like this, and he goes, I mean, we're like half an hour from the studio, he's going, the tentative bridge kind of sounds like this, and Skid's like playing the washboard, beating the bass on the side of the band and playing, they're trying to get something going together, and tentatively, or probably it'll sound like this, and we're going, I pointed out to him, we were like half an hour from the studio.
Well, we did one song there which we'd never done before called Burn Down the Malls, where I just kind of ad-libbed some of the spoken things I'd done on stage, just some tirades, and then tied it together by singing Burn Down the Malls in between. Never done it before. I wrote down like 5 ideas on a sheet of paper and stuck it in front of me, and then that was it. We just did it. So, I mean, the song is nice. I mean, I could go back and do the song now and make it tighter and everything would flow more smoothly, but it just wouldn't have that over-the-edge feel it has. When you listen to it, it's like going, whoa, speeds up, slows down. I'm like going, whoa, I remember what it is I'm going to say, I think that makes it, more human, more fun, more, personal, It's not like I'm a machine or something, I mean, you hear about bands, a lot of bands get up there and play the same 45, 50-minute sets, for 2 months. I don't know how they do it, I mean, I couldn't do that. I'm really impatient. I wouldn't be able to do that at all. But, I mean, some people do, And, I like to keep it loose. I like to stumble upon things that are good and then just use them, I mean, at least every night I'll probably say something I've never said before.
Do you have any ultimate plan of successes?
World domination! Yeah, I mean, I think that...
Let me get laid on the road.
Yeah, I think that we should be, we should be on the radio. I think us and our contemporaries and friends should be on the radio. And not this bullshit. I think we should be on the radio, we should be in the movies, we should be the happening cast, and we should be able to do it without letting success, turn us into evil geeks. But I'm not worried about it, I mean, we're already much more successful than anybody ever thought. Literally, anyone in San Diego who saw us 2 or 3 years ago never thought we'd be doing this now. Never thought we'd ever tour, have a booking agent, a manager, a record company, a road manager, buy a van, make money, fuck 2 dogs in hell. No one ever thought we'd do that.
Made him eat them words.
Yeah. So, I mean, everything is gravy,
What were those earlier shows like?
Pretty much the same. I didn't have quite as much confidence, I mean, now I'm pretty much a total megalomaniac on stage, But, I didn't, I was probably a tad bit more demure in my approach, but a lot of the same songs, a lot of the songs on the first album, some of them songs are like 4 years old now, and, same kind of thing, just, yeah, here it is, duo dedicated to irritation, yeah. Look at this, look at this.
Paper's out.
This is, Ann Arbor.
Ann Arbor, Michigan, Sunday News.
Duo dedicated to irritation. What kind of nutty idea is this? Well, let me go get a drink here before we play.
Thanks
Wait,
a lot.
ask him about his tongue. Ask him about his tongue.
Tell us about your tongue.
Get the exclusive scoop here.
Okay.
I think this should be.
Now, most people-
This should be news.
Most people can stick their tongue out of their mouth, like an
like
inch
a normal
or something.
human being, young.
Okay.
Like that.
My tongue will probably go out maybe 1/4 of an inch past my teeth.
Okay.
But I can make it about as wide. I can make it about 3 inches wide. See?
He's a mute.
See, look, that's as far as it'll go. That's it. But see, I can make it real
Barely
loud.
goes past his lip. He can't lick his lip up. That's it. That's it's demented.
It's tough, it's tough being me. It's tough.
Yeah.
But
I used to be able to whistle through my tongue.
look at that guy.
Stick your
Look
tongue
at
out. Stick your tongue out. I mean, that's normal. Come on, look at this. Do it without opening your mouth.
Well, I can make it skinny.
I can hold him back.
Nah. I have the thieving Leatherman.
All right, Mojo, thank you.
Okay, thank y'all, man. We'll
Give 'em hell out there
There's an
tonight.
address on the back of the second album.
Yeah.
Send us a
yeah.
couple of copies.
Sure, we will. Yeah, that's what they told us. All right, great.